termination of the Tuskegee Syphilis Study was a major turning point in history where scientific racism within the U.S. healthcare system was exposed by journalists, sparking officials to evaluate human research guidelines and set a new ethical standard in medicine. However, the study also instilled generational distrust among Black Americans towards medical research and care. The Tuskegee study examined the effects of syphilis on the human body, but due to a thirst for scientific knowledge, researchers withheld treatment from subjects, resulting in an immoral study. The study was run by the U.S. Public Health Service in Tuskegee, Alabama, with the goal of examining syphilis in Black males. Although only intended to span 6 months, research was prolonged from 1932 to 1972. The study involved 399 Black men with syphilis and 201 without the disease. Despite being unable to effectively treat the patients due to a funding cut, the founder of the study, Dr. Taliaferro Clark, saw no reason to stop studying subjects. He writes, "The Alabama community offered an unparalleled opportunity for the study of untreated syphilis. Unfortunately, funding never returned, resulting in 40 years of research where the men remained untreated despite Alabama mandating in the 1950s that all syphilitics take penicillin. Instead, Tuskegee doctors gave patients placebos like aspirin. Researchers allowed the men to go blind, experience mental decline, and die with the justification of performing autopsies and gaining scientific knowledge." Raymond Vonderleer, the director of the study, stated, "Naturally, it is not my intention to let it be generally known that the main object of the present activities is the bringing of the men to autopsy. The doctors made an effort to prevent subjects from improving their condition. If men left Tuskegee to seek medicine, their names were given to health facilities instructing doctors to not treat them with penicillin. Their malicious intent was never revealed to the subjects, and some were never even told they had syphilis. Subject Charles Pollard was stunned to learn he had syphilis when the truth of the study was revealed, saying, 'They told me I had bad blood. They never mentioned syphilis to me, not even once.' Subjects were misled and believed they were being treated when in reality, researchers had no intentions of bettering the men's condition, only wanting data."
The Tuskegee study committed further moral violations by specifically targeting impoverished African Americans using pre-existing systemic oppression and racism. Black, low-educated, poverty-stricken Macon County had syphilis infection rates up to 36% and was considered the perfect site for the study. Doctors took advantage of how the population lacked medical care through incentives like accessible health exams, free meals, and burial stipends. Nurse Eunice Rivers explained, "It meant everything in the world to the patient to get an examination because Black folks had never seen any doctors and felt they were really somebody to receive that kind of attention." Because of these opportunities, patients volunteered for the study without education of the danger. Subjects believed they would receive treatment, yet in reality, they were subjected to painful research. These horrific treatments were justified by racist beliefs at the time. Vonderleer claimed, "These Negroes are very ignorant and easily influenced by things that would be of minor significance in a more intelligent group." Scientific racism, which claimed white people were biologically superior to Black people, was prevalent in the 1900s. This ideology made it acceptable for the scientists to manipulate Black participants. Fred Gray, a civil rights activist who aided the study's subjects, summed up, "The study never would have happened to white participants." The U.S. government's racism is apparent when contrasted with the 1891 to 1910 Norway Oslo study. The Oslo study examined 2,000 white syphilitics and stood as a model of carefully planned and successfully executed field research, as patients lived in minimal discomfort. Contrastingly, Black subjects' compromised positions were manipulated by racist officials for unethical research.
Justice for the victims and the end of the Tuskegee study depended heavily on the commitment of individuals in the U.S. government's ad hoc committee. Peter Buxton, a PHS worker interviewing subjects, revealed that researchers were withholding vital treatment and allowing for the suffering and deaths of participants. He shared his shock by stating, "This was the public health service. We didn't do things like that." Buxton was dismayed that Tuskegee directors could disregard humans' well-being in the name of scientific discovery. In the 1960s, he filed protests against the study, but they were denied by the PHS. In 1972, Buxton leaked details to the Associated Press, where investigative journalist Jean Heller broke the story. In multiple interviews, she stated that the study made her furious, later going on to say that it was one of the grossest violations of human rights she could imagine. Her article discussing the study's ethical violations was published on July 25, 1972 in the Washington Star, and later in other sources. Public outrage caused the U.S. government to form an ad hoc committee, a group of officials dedicated to evaluating issues, in this case, the Tuskegee study. 5 out of 9 members on the panel were Black doctors. The group concluded the study was ethically unjustified and should be terminated immediately. Dr. J. Katz, a member of the panel, deemed the study was scientifically useless, finding that no interests of science are surrendered by terminating the Tuskegee Syphilis Study. The continuance of the study would, for this reason alone, be inadmissible. Finally, nearing the end of 1972, the study was officially terminated. Civil rights attorney Fred Gray was approached by victim Charles Pollard, who told him that he had been wronged by the Tuskegee research and wanted to seek compensation. Gray filed a $1.8 billion lawsuit against the federal government on behalf of all victims. In 1974, the government paid $10 million in damages to the survivors and their families.
The study sparked a turning point in U.S. healthcare as it revealed racism present in American medicine, leading to reform. The Belmont Report, published in 1979 in response to the concerns of the ad hoc panel, creates ethical boundaries for medicine and provides solutions to future problems using three main principles. The first precaution, respect for persons, dictates that subjects must enter into the research voluntarily and with adequate information. This clause mirrors the study, as doctors misled subjects about the study's danger. In 1997, Dr. Katz wrote, "Consent to participation was not obtained. Subjects were treated not as human subjects, but as objects of research." The second is beneficence, claiming doctors must weigh the negatives of risking a person's health against resulting beneficial information. In 1972, the ad hoc panel deemed the study did more harm than good. The final principle, justice, states that subjects must not be systematically selected due to compromised position or manipulability, and was created as a response to the Tuskegee director's exploitation of uneducated, low-income Black men. Additionally, in 1991, using the Belmont Report as a foundation, the Department of Health and Human Services published Subpart A of the 45 CFR 46 document, the Common Rule. This set of regulations for the protection of human research subjects was codified by 15 federal departments. In accordance with the Common Rule, department heads evaluate federal proposals involving human subjects, and documentation of informed consent must be received from participants. Eric Williams, Senior Coordinator of the Human Subject Research Protection Program at Northeastern University, discusses the relevance of the Belmont Report and Common Rule today.
I use both of them every day. The Common Rule, I apply on a daily and hourly basis. I think there's holes, but I think we're definitely in a better position than before the Belmont Report.
What was done cannot be undone, but we can end the silence.
In 1997, 20 years after the study's termination, President Bill Clinton delivered a speech claiming that the government planned to improve safety in human research and expressed the government's regret regarding Tuskegee.
What the United States government did was shameful, and I am sorry. The study at Tuskegee served to sow distrust of our medical institutions, especially where research is involved.
Although the study led to improvements in research safety, the negative psychological effects of the Tuskegee study are shown in Black communities' lack of trust in the U.S. healthcare system. In 2002, Rosetta Wilson, the daughter of a Tuskegee participant, voiced concern for her own children.
I was afraid that the same thing was going to happen to my daughters that happened to my father.
The Tuskegee study caused generational paranoia regarding medical research displayed through the COVID-19 pandemic. A widespread misconception is that the Tuskegee subjects were purposely injected with syphilis, discouraging many African Americans from participating in government research. During the first phase of the Moderna vaccine trials, out of 45 people, only 2 were Black. When Melba Newsome, an African American journalist, applied for vaccine research, she recounts that people in the Black community were angry that she would become a human guinea pig for the very medical establishment that has used their bodies without care or consent. Cheryl Owens, a Tuskegee resident, says Black Americans were wary of vaccines because they felt that the government wanted to inject something in their bodies and they were going to die. As a result, people are unlikely to get medical care when needed. COVID vaccine uptake data shows 59% of white people receive vaccines, compared to only 46% of Black Americans. Lucinia Dunn, the leader of a program encouraging vaccination for Tuskegee residents, explains, "People say, well, y'all ought not be worried about that syphilis study. Yeah, we do, because it's part of our experience." The Tuskegee Syphilis Study was a turning point as it left a lasting effect on the Black community and altered human research. All medical skepticism should not be blamed on one historical event, however, its impact cannot be overlooked. In the words of Fred Gray, We have to continue to tell their story so that such injustices never happen again.